Hello and welcome to Pictorial Planet. My name's John Finch. This weekend I was out photographing a subject I'd seen a little while ago. The sun was out on and off, and I had a roll of Pan F in my camera that I wanted to use and develop in FX55. So let's go to the field now and see what I was photographing, the technique I was trying to use, and then we'll come back here to the darkroom and we'll have a look at whether or not I was successful. So I've come here because of this specific tree, and I was walking past it a few weeks ago and I thought, that is a beautiful tree. If I just stand outside to let you see this beautiful moss growing with the lichen against this gorgeous tree bark. And so what I thought I might do is do a black and white photograph of this close up, a macro photograph, and then colorize it a little bit, and we'll see that in progress in a later video. So first of all, I've got to work out how I can get the best contrast from this tree. So let me go get my light meter and we'll look at how to do that. The first thing I'm going to do is take an incident meter reading of this bark. I'm just waiting for the sun to come back out. It's just after that storm has passed through UK, so we've got a lot of wind, and if you can hear noise in the background, it's the river that I'm stood next to. I'm right beside the Finch River here. So if we get the sun to come out, I'm going to take an incident meter reading, and what that's going to do is give me an average. Here it is now. So I'm getting F8 at a 60th of a second in the sun. In fact, it's gone up to 125th, so F8 at 125th. So that's my average light meter reading of the light that's falling upon this tree. So I'm going to make a mental note of that. I need to remember those things. And now I'm going to switch to spot metering. And I'm going to spot meter these light patches. And they're 250th at F8, so they're one stop higher than the average light. Let's meter the green. That is mid-grey, that's zone 5. It's coming out exactly the same as my incident meter reading. Let's have a look at this bark here. And that's the same as the green. So this is going to be very interesting because these two tones are going to look very similar in the photograph. So what we've got then, looking at this, is we have these two colors here, the green and the brown. Both are reflecting average light, zone 5 light to us. We're not going to get much separation in our print, and I would like some. And this is one stop higher, which also isn't a lot. I'd like that to be 2 stops higher than zone 5. Well, we've seen in videos I've done before how we might be able to do that bit. If I want that 1 stop higher, then I'm going to give it n+1 development. For these two, I'm going to use a different trick. I'm going to use a green filter. And what that's going to do is lighten up the green compared to the brown. We're going to punch up that color tonally, and so we'll see it standing out much more. I'll take 2 photographs. I'll take one without the filter and one with, and we'll see the difference. And I'll give it n+1 development. I'm going to be using a new developer to develop this. It's one that I've created for my new book, which I'll be releasing this year, and I'm going to publish the developer in that book, and it's based on FX55. I'm very impressed with FX55, and so I'm trying to formulate a new developer that uses that type of formulation. So let's get the camera ready and let's take this photograph. I've got my Cokin green filter here that I'm going to use, and we mustn't forget the filter factor, which is 2. So we're going to use 2 more stops of exposure, and I'm going to use the speed of the camera to get those 2 extra stops, because if I use the aperture, I won't get the depth of field that I want. And when you're doing macro like this, close-up work, you need to maximize depth of field because things go out of focus very quickly when you're close up. So using this filter, I'll wind down the speed of the camera by 2 stops. I've developed the film, I've made a couple of prints, and I've scanned them into the computer, the negatives. And so we're looking right now at the negative without any filter. This is just a straight shot with the camera of the tree. So let's just zoom in a little to 100%. This is the moss, super detailed. And here is the lichen. Look at that lichen. The detail in there is amazing. But you'd expect that with a Zeiss lens. But that's not what I'm particularly interested in. What I am interested in is whether or not the green filter had a great effect on this photograph. So let's just go to the next scan. Now this is the green filter. Immediately, as you look at that, I see more contrast. But be warned, there's a slight shadow here and a slight shadow here. As I was filming, and you probably saw this, the sun was becoming dappled in some branches of a nearby tree. And so I was starting to get a little bit of shadow coming onto the shot. But let's just go back again. This is the standard shot there with no filter. And there is actually some shadow here. I do see that. Right, let's just flick to the green. I think there's an increase in contrast. But the thing that surprises me is the green moss hasn't lightened as much as I thought it would. I was expecting a lot more lightness from it, and it just didn't happen. Now, I used Kokin's filter factor, so it should be the same amount of exposure. It should have just lifted that green a bit, and it doesn't seem to have. But I'll zoom in 100%. It's sharp. The lichen is lovely. The moss is nice and sharp. And so the detail actually is quite amazing at the 100%. But this is a medium format negative. So yeah, I like the shot. I'm interested in colorizing it. And I think we should go now and have a look at the prints, because I think the prints will let you see where the rubber hits the road. Here are our prints, and this is the no filter N+1 development print, and I like it a lot. It's got some lovely contrast in it. The N+1 has really helped, and it's important we think about that when we're taking our photograph, that we think about the contrast that we're going to get in our final image, because that is what we're aiming for. Remember, when we're looking at something in front of us to photograph, we should be thinking about how it's going to end up. What are we trying to create when we photograph something? And here I knew I needed to enhance the contrast because the original was too flat. These were only one zone above middle grey, above zone 5, which was not enough to give it the pop we need if we're going to print. If we don't do this, if we don't enhance the contrast of our image through development, when we need to, we're going to get muddy prints, and they're never satisfactory, muddy prints. So this is the contrast you should be looking for. So there is the standard. Now, will the green filter make a big difference? Are we going to see a great enhancement? So here is the print with the green filter. It is lighter. There's definitely more lightness, which is interesting because in the scan it didn't seem as light, but in the print it does seem lighter. But you know something? When I see the two together, I actually prefer the standard one, which is really interesting. Let's put them next to each other here. They're both printed at grade 2.5, but I prefer this one without the green filter. I think the green filter has lifted the green as you can see the difference. But because it's lifted the green, it seems to have actually reduced the contrast of the image, which is really interesting to me. So there you go, the theory and the practice. I thought it might make it better, but actually, sorry about that. Actually, I don't think it actually does. I think the standard was the best reproduction of what I was trying to attain. That is the image I had in my mind's eye when I looked at that tree. That was the final image. Thanks for watching. Please like the video, subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. I love your comments. Let me know which you think was the better of the two prints. Was it the one on the left with the green filter, or was it the standard? Bye for now.